This episode of the In Focus series features Andrew Parnham. Andrew is the owner and head trainer of the PTJ Muay Thai Gym and promoter of the Siam to Sydney Muay Thai promotion in Sydney, Australia. Welcome to the show, Andy. Thanks for being on.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, man.
Here we go.
Wow.
We've worked together on many Siam to Sydney shows. I can't remember if you were wearing the moon boot on this occasion. But man, you're a trainer, you're a gym owner, father, husband, promoter. What's it like? I call this photo the meeting of the minds. What's it like bringing all the trainers together, liaising with the officials, the patrons, trainers, fighters, all before showtime, and hoping everyone follows what you say before it goes? Actually, judging by the photo, this was actually the first time you went to this venue because there wasn't a barrier between the change room and the venue.
Mate, thanks for having me for starters, Will. But this was a particularly stressful one, and looking at this photo brings up some interesting memories because that sheet that I've actually got in my hand is the first pre-fight show briefing that I think we might have ever had to do in New South Wales.
Yep.
I do believe I had a moon boot on, which made it even harder. And that was a brand new venue. Yeah, it was a stress fracture from just not looking after myself and overtraining and overusing and just not resting when I should have. So
yep.
And then I just got basically sent to the boot, really. It's like being on lockdown from a physio perspective. I think I just couldn't be trusted because I kept on using it. So this was a particularly interesting one, being the first time. So there was a big change in the legislation,
yep.
Which led towards us having to give briefings to officials and judges and the key stakeholders before bouts. And this one in particular, I really had to give all the trainers and cornermen some information around a new cut rule that was introduced. So this was around the cut rule that was introduced and the equipment and just the general processes and procedures. But the cut rule was an interesting one. So they kind of laxed it a little bit after this, but the Combat Sports Authority found a rule. They hadn't been adhering to it, but the rule basically says that in any case of a cut, it needs to be brought to the doctor. So I can't remember the exact wording, but they found that, and they basically said, as of now, we need to enforce this rule because we haven't been enforcing it, and that meant that any cut, like it could have been like a cut on your knee or a cut on your elbow or a bleeding nose, even though they were worried about that we had to bring them to the doctors. So most of this actual meeting was around me preparing the trainers and fighters for the judges, letting them know that the judges weren't going to be swayed by that.
It's almost like you're the bearer of little bad news.
Yeah. Like, you look at Dave, like you can see him in the background. Danny Jones is looking away, man. And, crossed arms, man. It was like, what? On the far left there, you can see Ollie. He likes a cut.
He's a bleeder.
Gives a cut.
Yeah.
He's a bleeder. And basically it was just me saying, look, if you guys get pulled by an official to the corner to see the doctor, don't get stressed, remain calm. It's just a procedure and you're going to be okay if it's small, but obviously if it's a big one, it'd be, but yeah, that's what that was. So, and I got my man Trevor next to me.
Yeah.
Laying down the ball. So,
I suppose your experience promoting, it's your job to manage the reactions from the passionate trainers. Sometimes they can get carried away in the heat of the moment.
Big time. And I feel like our show throughout the years has been built up towards the point now where the trainers generally know how to behave on our shows for that particular reason. Like you can see in the background there, the lights on. Our shows traditionally are in the afternoon anyway. And we keep it a little bit brighter. We actually have a family-friendly audience usually.
I love
Up until recently, it's always been alcohol-free, we introduced alcohol to the last show, and because of the vibe of the shows, I feel like it didn't really have a major impact in the way that the crowd behaved. Knock on wood.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So that's what that is.
Awesome. Backstage at the old venue at the old high school. There's no secret that I love getting backstage photos. It's a lot easier when I'm friends with the people and I know the whole gym as well. In this photo, you see yourself as a promoter, the trainer, Yolanda about to step up to the ring, your cornerman Seb, and then in the back you see Cam, who's about to get ready for his bout soon. What's it like balancing all those emotions when your kids are running
It's really
around
hard.
as well?
Yeah. Kids running around, everything, and I like, yeah. I really miss that venue. It was a lot of fun. It was like a little cauldron there. But this particular show had a lot of, if it's the one that I feel it is, this one was a really an emotional show for me. Actually, a dear friend of mine passed away not long before it, and we had his photo in the back sheds, and I think we had, we had one or two title fights on that day as well. And I didn't put the pressure on the fighters for that. They didn't really know, but in the back of my head, I was going into that day, into the prep, going that I want all my guys to win this for him.
Yep.
And that pressure on top of the regular stuff. Oh man, I've got goosebumps now talking about it. Like, it was.
I did feel
really,
that was a tense moment on your end. You were a little bit more tense than usual.
Yeah, it was hard, man.
I don't know if tense was the right word, but you were more focused. You had a bit more on your mind.
I put myself under a lot of pressure for that one, to be quite honest. Pressure everywhere. The usual pressure from the show, that just comes with the territory, and that's nothing different to any other promoter. But as a trainer, and then as a mate and a mate's mate, to really kind of dedicate that to him, and we did. And I was just, yeah, man, it was so cool. And I've still got those photos that you took for us on those days, and
it was a fun day.
Yeah.
What do you remember from this cracker of a fight?
Oh man,
I was talking to Ibi not long ago after his fight at Hardcore, saying that there was one round where he felt like he wasn't doing as well, and then after a little prep talk from the boss man, it just gave him the fire. What's it like cornering your fighters in the heat of battle, especially if it's going back and forth? How do you sway it into their favor, or how do you just motivate them?
Everyone's different. I got to say that from the start. You can't be, for me personally anyway, right? Like I can't be the same in the corner as I am with Jamie here.
Yeah.
As I am with Seb, who's in the corner as well, as I am with Singh, or as I am with Ibi for that matter. And you develop that relationship fight after fight and hour after hour, and being in the gym together. Some fighters are more confident in themselves in the corner. Some are less confident in themselves in the corner, and some of them need a more aggressive approach to motivating them. And
Don
some
Miller
need
slap.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm not a slapper on the face anyway. I'm known to pull some hair and give them a shake, and
I've got some photos of that.
Oh, have you? Awesome.
Yeah.
This particular fight, mate, like this is a crazy fight.
Yeah.
Jamie, although he's like a specimen, a really talented guy, sometimes doubts himself in between rounds, and can be quite negative on himself in between rounds, and needs a real rev up. I mean, in this fight in particular, he was what you probably consider the underdog going in against the Thai boy, who's very strong, and I know him and his trainers and that crew were good friends.
Not just that too. I spoke to him after the fight. He said he couldn't kick because he had a torn hamstring, I believe, right?
Yeah, he had a grade 2 tear. So we were hitting pads sitting on the ring for this, which wasn't ideal. But Jamie's one of those guys that just was a nightmare. But
Yeah.
he's got a really talented strength and conditioning coach, Elliot, and we worked through it together. And he was confident we could get him there.
Yep.
And then third round, dropped him with an elbow, and I
Yeah.
still don't think Jamie understands how strong he is. He probably could have stopped him, but I think he did it, and he was like, oh, I like didn't just couldn't finish him because I just think he was still like trying to figure out what just happened, and then
Yeah.
then spent the rest of the fight trying to protect the lead, and in the fifth round. Copped a head kick of his own for his troubles, and luckily we were ahead early enough in those first 3 rounds to hold the lead.
Yeah. That was a crack of a fight, man. I loved it so much.
Oh man, so good.
Just out of curiosity, what's it like cornering your Western fighters and then cornering the Thai boys? What's the main difference in your opinion?
There's a really big difference, obviously, because of the experience levels. I'm much more directing the guys now. Obviously, our Aussie fighters, around the strategy, what to do, what's happening, injuries, and all that type of stuff. And then in the case of someone like Jamie, give him a pep talk as well. With the Thai boys, much different. They know what they're doing, obviously, for starters. Like, I'm not going to be teaching them anything new, but I'm more about giving them judging advice sometimes. I'm really hard on my guys in the corner in trying to get them to win a round convincingly. So trying to push the Thai boys into winning rounds and winning them convincingly, especially in the latter half of those rounds. So there's a lot of time calling. So they know when to pick their shots. And keeping an eye on injuries and stuff like that as well.
Just like general maintenance.
It really
like
is.
Giving them the third eye.
Yeah, for Singh. Like, you look at a guy like Singh, like, I'm not going to teach him anything new. The bloke's a freak. But, it's more about the time, what's happening, judging, and like you said, being that third eye.
Perfect, man. Now, you're a busy gym. You got fighters fighting everywhere, sometimes on the same night. What's it like for you as a trainer prepping someone who's going to be fighting without your guidance of you physically being there? Here you've got, Donnie taking care of them. But what's it like sending your fighters off by themselves or with an assistant trainer?
Again, depends on the person, but the really important thing for me is making sure that they feel comfortable, that they're in safe hands, and I pride myself in as much contact as possible. Like, even if we've got guys fighting in Thailand, I do my very best to, even if they're not training, like, I do my very best to be in touch with them fight day, like, no matter what. And handpicking people like this to really help have some good friends in other states really helps as well. It sucks that I can't be there for absolutely every single fight, and guys with a few fighters know that's impossible sometimes. So sometimes just letting them know that you're there in their corner, in inverted commas, before they go out to battle.
Like give it a phone call or something like that.
Phone call in the change rooms before, phone call on the way to the venue, even if that's not possible, to phone call the morning of the fight, just so that they know that, like, I care for starters, but also that, sometimes if they need a bit of calming or revving up or some pep talk, that, we give them that before they go in.
Now, I consider you a purist when it comes to Thai gyms. You love embracing Thai culture. Every now and then I do see you step outside the square and do things like a tag team tournament. What's it like honoring your boy next to another superstar trainer like Mark over here? I mean, that would have been a pretty cool experience.
For me, it actually was. And I hope they know it, and I'll verbalize it now, that, trainers like Peasy, Darren, they're guys that I looked up to as a fighter growing up. And then as a young gym owner, they're the guys that I looked at with all their fighters and like aspired to be.
And now you're there with them.
and standing alongside them on the ropes like this, like Peasy's got one of the most, it's like one of the founding Thai style gyms in Australia, and then being given the opportunity to have a fighter alongside him, even though it's not something that I always do, was really cool. And then, but also to be given like the nod of satisfaction, not nod of approval from guys like that, you know, to say, oh yeah, I'd love to like jump in a corner with you or something like that. It really means to me, like that respect from my peers means a lot to me, you know. Obviously we're on the other corner, it's different, but when they say that they would want to be a part of your team and corner guys together, going to war together, it really means a lot.
I mean,
chuffed.
It's not every day you get to corner someone else, but, you know, let alone someone you look up to.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of that tag team thing. Like, I'll be honest and say I don't take it that seriously, even though like I'm a competitor at heart and we always want to win.
Yeah.
I see it more as like a novelty and a bit of fun. That particular night was a good one because Sebastian had some time off.
Yeah.
And then being able to partner up with a strong partner, it was a really good opportunity for him to jump back in again and kind of just get some footing, you know, like, because he's had a fair amount of fights, and you can't just come straight back out after having a layoff and expect to, you know, come straight out. But on the other side of it, it's pretty hard to get a fight, you know, like some of the up and comers wouldn't want to do that. So this was a really good kind of medium.
So.
Yeah. And this was a really happy medium, and it was nice of Adam to put us on. He did absolutely. He worked some Queensland magic to make this thing happen.
That would only in Queensland, as I said to you. Now hold that thought. A second afterwards, this happened. What went through your mind here? I say to my friends, it was one of those crazy moments where everyone's having fun and then someone gets hurt and you realize, shit, where are the parents?
Yeah. That was one of those ones, man. Jaden's
he's a beast.
He's a beast. He's a real heavy hitter. Gets right into it. He's a real competitor. Wants to win. And to be honest, I was trying to give the instructions for both of us. PC was the same. Like, because of the guys who jumped in, I was really interested in trying to get Seb some ring time and just moments in the ring. And, you know, Jaden gave us that as well. So they both got some timing in. But like Jaden's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. Like, he just got a sniff of it and just went for it. And then the last like couple, like I was like, you can see me there behind Seb, like where it actually happened. I was like, oh man,
yeah. A little bit cringy as well.
It really was, man. But yeah, that's the way it goes.
Rebellion 7 at FedEx, you versing the Persian team.
Oh.
What was?
You know what? I'm not even looking. Yeah. I've looked at Seb down the bottom, and then I looked for Sai. I said, sorry, Cam. I looked at Sai.
Where were we? What's the aftermath of a KO on one of your fighters?
It's not good, man. No one ever wants to see it. And, you can see Benny's facial expressions there. And
well, we were talking about that when I had Benny on the podcast. He was over the moon when it happened, but once he calmed down pretty quickly, he realized what's happened and switched over to, you know, making sure that Cam's okay. Yeah,
it's like that dump, right? Like elated that you just like finally got this like sick. And you know what? I'll be the first to admit that was a sick KO. That was on my boy, man. And a big shout out to Cam. I love the guy. But yeah, you never like to see your boy go down like that. And it was good to see us come to afterwards. We weren't expecting it, I'll be honest with you. Like, I was really looking forward to that fight because both the boys have got a nice, relaxed style, and I was really looking for some big kicking rounds, you know, like, and Cam's a big kicker, and then I was like, this is gonna be sick.
What's it like for you? Because Cam was still an up and comer, taking on Ben, who was pretty experienced, coming back after a long layoff as well. What was it like coming into that fight for you guys?
Yeah, um, Sai match as well, so it's good that way, and we've got a good relationship. I can trust him with who he's going to put my boys with, and I was comfortable in putting Cam in with that fight because he's one of those fighters that could, he fight above his level, experience wise anyway. And Ben has got a nice, he's got more of a technical style, and that's what I was kind of expecting. Like it was
Back
a
and
step
forth.
up for him. I was more expecting like a back and forth, and I was absolutely not expecting that, man.
Flash forward to this moment. After a knockout or whatever, there's so many things happening. Everyone's running around. The referee has his job. Both corners do their thing. Even going back to what you said, every one of your fighters, there's a different relationship with them. You know what they're like. What was it like cornering someone you haven't cornered before, and then dealing with this moment afterwards?
Tough because I won't use the word traitor, but I just did, didn't
You
I?
just did it.
Like Blair and Toby are my mates, so I helped Sai with a replacement for that fight, and actually my wife's got a good relationship with Poi, who's the wife of Pia Nan, who owns Gel Samrit. And when the opportunity come out, we managed, because of that relationship, they entrusted him with us in looking after him, and
so did they ask you to corner?
Yeah, and just look after him for the whole weekend, and I don't take that lightly. So even when we were looking at some weight things before the fight, and that, like it could have easily just been a matter of whatever. And even in this fight, but for me, when somebody gives me their fighter, that's a big responsibility to me. And to me, having lost a fighter once before, it's real. So I don't take it lightly. And and then even speaking to Toby before this fight, we had to even ask him if he wanted to fight him, because Toby obviously spent some time at Gel Samrit, but I don't think those boys knew each other that well. Again, we're kind of hoping for a little bit more out of him from that fight, but and you can probably see the grin on my face when running over there. I'm happy for Toby, and I'm happy for Blair, and it's the sport,
It is a sport.
and that's what it is.
About what it was like cornering against, friends, and I guess it just comes down to business. Business at the end of the day, you do your thing, and then afterwards, back to normal.
Yep.
No hard feelings.
Really do. It's like I was even talking to the Thai boys the other day about it. It's just like a game of rugby league for us. It is the equivalent of rugby league. In that it's like one of the hardest sports on the planet, and people get hurt. There's everyone's got to be, if you've got to be a fierce competitor in both of those sports, you're going to get the sporting drama that comes with that as well. But in the end of it, it's also a job.
Yeah,
very much so. So we all get revved up and competitive as hell, and yelling and doing whatever before, and look at Blair rubbing it in. He's so good at it, and he's just proud of his boy. And in the end, had a couple of beers afterwards, and that's that.
Yep. What do you remember from this night or this particular moment here?
Oh man, that was a special night for me. Really was.
Did you know you had special night at that moment?
Did I the fight?
Yep.
Or before the whole thing?
Oh, right there, right now.
Yeah. That was the money. We were there. Yeah. Sings my boy it's been with us for 6 years. We've been through so much, and we still go through so much. Like Corona, man. Like, you know, and I've got him, and like I was just so happy with him after, you know, he had the eye problem, and
yeah, that happened really early on too.
Yeah, and he had some doubts as well, you know, like, but we spoke about it earlier around like what my job is with these Thai boys, and it's not often that I'll have to be that person in an instance like this where I'm actually having to, before they go out, to manage their emotions and having that third fight in a night going in, or fourth fight was it?
Third fight, I think.
Third fight, sorry, yeah. With injury and it was it was real, like it was a nail biter. He had an easier one with Jack, but coming up against Sam Pet, we knew him, and he was beastie and everything like that, but he just had a toughish fight with Up His Hit too. But I feel Singh's level, that fight, styles make fights, right? And I was confident that Sam Pet, style wise, wasn't going to be too hard a task for Singh. Yeah.
Nice one. What's your feelings during this crazy time? And I don't know, how are you looking forward to getting back into the gym and just getting the ball going?
I love my job, man. I've never not liked my job. I have my moments, but I've been doing it for not as long as some, obviously, but I've had the gym now for just over 10 years and been training people for a bit more than that. And I've always felt thankful for being able to do what I love as a career. And I've never doubted that once. I can put my hand on my heart and say that I have not felt in any way, shape or form not thankful for that. And I can understand why some trainers and gym owners and stuff like that you go through your patches, but I can see some who get burnt out and everything. But for me, Muay Thai is everything, and being able to be in a hot, sweaty gym like that amongst fighters and doing what I love it means everything to me.
I love it, man. I mean, for creatives like myself and Tom Gathercole, I'm sure we all have our moments of ups and downs, but that's why I like working with you. You help reignite the passion of martial arts back into me. Seeing someone like you and your team, if you guys are putting so much effort and passion into the sport, it's only right if I give the same amount back into it for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. And and even more so now, like, oh man, how can you not? Like, I still watch, like, I'm still a Muay Thai fan too, and I think that's what carries me through all this. Like, I can still sit there and watch a development day fight. I could still watch two of my fighters train and have a mad sparring session, just get excited by it. And I just love it. And there's only a few things that I've stuck out in my life, and my passion for Muay Thai is still there, you know. So,
well said, man.
I can't wait. Thank
you so much for being on, mate. It was a pleasure, Andy.
Thank you, Will, man. I love this. This is such an awesome concept, and I really, I'm appreciative for having me on here, man. So I look forward to seeing all the other ones as well.